Hey everybody, thanks for tuning back in to JRL Golf Academy. I have the awesome pleasure of interviewing none other than Lance Gill of Lance Gill Performance. Lance is a wealth of knowledge if you want to know everything about the body and how it translates into the golf swing. So with this one interview, I think you're going to find a lot of useful information in terms of developing players from a young age and where their speed windows are. So thanks again for tuning in to JRL Golf Academy.
Absolutely, absolutely. There was another question here, a great question here. Ricky, what kind of exercise movements should a younger golfer do avoid to protect him from chronic future wear and tear? Asking because golf is obviously a lot of stress.
Yeah, this is something that we've seen a lot lately down at the Institute is young golfers, and I would say more high-level golfers, are coming in with stress fractures in the lumbar spine. So
in the lumbar spine.
yeah, I'm seeing a lot of juniors with stress fractures in the lumbar spine, and I blame this on TrackMan. All right, now
I'm listening.
before TrackMan sends out lawyers, it's not their fault, but the data that these kids are getting have their hands on available to, they can get real-time numbers of Rory McIlroy or Adam Scott or Brooks, any of these studs on tour, and they're getting their TrackMan numbers sent down, and then they're trying to emulate or mask 181 mile an hour ball speed, a mimic, I should say, but they're 13 years old. And the problem I see is that the kids can do it. Some of these kids can actually produce some of the same numbers that these full-grown adult men can do, and they're just building speed on top of a foundation that's not quite ready for that much speed. And that poses a dangerous scenario for me. So when I look at that question that was sent, I think you said Ricky sent it.
Yep.
It would be a byproduct of, okay, I have to understand that the 13 to 18-year-old child, male or female, is growing. They're going through puberty, hormonal changes, mood changes. I have to fight Mother Nature, and no one has beaten her yet. No one's beaten her. So my job is to keep up with her the best I can in the training and getting them to understand what function is, number one, what is adequate function for the human body, and try to combat it. Because the reality is sometimes these kids' right femur grows longer or faster than their left femur, which then puts their hamstrings and their glutes at a disadvantage because bones grow faster than your muscles. And now all of a sudden you're tight on one side, you can't rotate to the left. And it can happen overnight. So I just have to kind of defuse the kid's brain, relax them a little bit, and let them understand that sometimes trying to mimic what the best in the world are doing isn't always going to be the most advantageous for you right now, but we'll get there.
They're trying to be TrackMan heroes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I see sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm not banging on TrackMan. I think they've done a tremendous job, them in Foresight and
any measuring thing. They're just trying to make the number, right? Like look awesome.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they're just not ready for it.
Yeah.
So be careful with those. But Ricky, listen, get out there, get properly evaluated by your fitness person, because your body is going to change constantly, or your student's body will change constantly. And we have to be on top of that. And as golf professionals, you need to be damn well on top of that, because knowing about the body may not be your forte, but understanding what your golfer can or cannot do will impact significantly your success rates.
So let me go right there, because there's something that I learned from you when I went to Vegas and you did this seminar, and you said that there's two windows of opportunity for like gaining power and speed.
Yes.
We want to say that, right?
Yes.
In your lifetime, right? There's like two windows for these kids. Can you kind of go over that again? Because I loved what you talked about that.
Yeah, so there's something in the world of development, adolescent development, called growth velocity windows. Dr. Ernst Wicht, one of our advisory board, one of my colleagues, mentors, he's a real big scientist on this. And what it is if you look at a child from age 0 all the way up to when he stops growing, we'll say 21 or something, the rate of which they grow, the velocity at which they grow, ebbs and flows. All right, so some kids go through this 1 to 2 year period where they just spike up. Their growth is rapidly spiked up. Simple way to do it: every month, measure your child's height on a wall. All right, and then graph it out. So January is in column 1. His height was 53 centimeters. February was month 2. His height was 53.5 centimeters. And then you'll see how that curve goes up and down. And well, it won't go down. It'll just keep going up. But when we see a spike up in the growth, that child is going through a lot of hormonal changes. All right. And that's when I'm saying the bones are growing, the muscles are saying, I can't work anymore. The brain is like, I'm uncoordinated as heck. I'm tripping over both left feet.
Yeah.
At those periods of time, we have found it very advantageous to work on these three concepts. Number one, mobility. Number two, explosive movements. All right. So jumping, running, hopping, skipping. And number three, disengage from activities that are super technical. All right. And require super fine motor. And if you look at just a generic representation of those two time periods in life, one's between usually 4 and 6 years old. All right. With the real young kids when they're going through a massive growth spurt. And the next is during puberty. Girls are a little bit earlier, maybe 10, 11, 12 to 13, 14 years old. Boys are probably 12, 13 up to 15 when they go through puberty. Those windows, as we call them, speed windows, are when we have to, as coaches, think a little bit differently on how we apply our coaching. Because sometimes the kids can't handle all that. All right, P1, I want you with a more deviated
21 degrees. Yeah.
And the kids are like, what are you saying, dude? All right. I'm not saying take away your golf skills, but as a framework, coaches can do a lot to help that student through that awkward period of time. And here's why. Some people call it the funnel theory. So, at age 10, the mouth of the funnel is wide open. But as you get older and get better and the skills get better, the funnel gets more and more narrow. And the problem is when a kid thinks he's not good enough because he's going through growth, he's more likely to quit the sport. That's when we have a problem.
Yeah.
Because they won't come back sometimes.
So 4 to 6 years old, you'd say that's a window. And then we'll call it, what's the second window we're going to call it again?
Well, just 13 to 15, just
13,
the puberty
15.
years.
Yeah. And honestly, I've got a big junior following and several junior academies. Lance, I've always used that, and that's sort of my standard default answer when I'm working with these kids and the parents come. And I go, hey, man, I tell them right sort of the interview process, I'll tell them, these two windows, especially because I get young kids, but, I give them that window and I say, hey, dude, it's going to get a little funny here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in the funny stage there, you need to be like trying to dial in more speed and just, we do a bunch of goofy stuff to just create speed, make them stronger. And then not that we, like you said, not that we ignore the mechanics, right? But I don't want to say it's an excuse either. But it's that period that we have to understand, especially as coaches in here, dude, we need to attack that period there to get these kids gaining speed.
Yes. I think the easiest way it was explained to me when I was learning this 10, 15 years ago was that you have 4 types of fuel you can choose to get speed from. Number 1, you can have diesel fuel. All right. Number 2, you can have unleaded fuel, stuff that you put in your car.
Yeah.
Number 3, you could have jet fuel. And number 4, you could have rocket fuel.
I like the rocket.
Most people want rocket fuel because it produces the most amount of thrust, speed, force generation. It's what everybody strives to. But if you miss speed window number 2, which is your puberty years, you can take rocket fuel off the table. It's no longer available for you.
Okay.
If you miss speed window number 1, 4 to 6, if between 4 and 6 years old, you were just on the computer being a smart student, now jet fuel's off the table. All right. So what we're seeing is you can still be fast, but you can't be as fast as you could have been.
That was fascinating when you told me that. And like I said, I've got an 11-year-old son, you know what I mean? And those windows, I made sure not to miss those points.
Yeah, well, one's coming up, so be ready for it. My son's 14. He's grown about 8 inches in the last year and a half. And all we do is just try to explosive because he's a motor moron. I hope he's not listening right now, but he's trying to learn how to control his body. He's a catcher in baseball, and he's always down in deep squats. And every once in a while, he's like, why is my right femur hurting? I'm like, well, that's because you're growing.
Sorry.
Sorry, I can't help that one.
This one's not my fault this time. Tony Greco's got a question here. How often should you rescreen your young clients, especially during that growing phase? He's a great coach out in Temecula, and he's got a bunch of juniors. Really
Temecula, yes, very cool, very cool. Tony, great question. We screen our juniors at minimum every month. Now,
Wow.
Whether it be remote or on site with us, we're trying to screen our kids every month because I don't want anything to slip through the cracks. I want to be up to speed on their movement programs, and making changes, tweaks, additions. And if the kids call us or give us their feedback saying, something's not feeling right in my lower back, instantly we'll go back and look at their screen. Because I'm telling you, it can change overnight. If you want to separate or distance yourselves or get better information, I can't stress enough just to assess what the body is doing. I mean, these kids could have slept wrong, or they don't sleep at all because there was a Call of Duty tournament on one night and they're up to 4 a.m. So assess their motor programs, their movement patterns daily if you can. Now, every time I go into the gym with an athlete, I'm looking at their movement program. They don't know it. I'm not going to say, well, we're going to do a formal physical screen now. I get them down in a posture, tell them arch and flatten their back. I'm looking at their pelvic tilt. They think it's an exercise. I'm just getting them into the motions because I want to see how they're doing them.
Well, now you gave your secrets away, dude. That's done.
That was dumb.
They're good.
Dumb.
Now they know what you're looking for.
Hey, I didn't invent this stuff, so I'm an open book,
Hey, I wasn't a show host 3 weeks ago. I was a golf teacher. Seamus Dawn asked, do you guys want to play? Oh, got me. It was one of those, people that come, yeah, dude, they're just like whack comments and stuff like that, dude.
I hear you.
Let's do this. Tell me this, Lance. What sort of regimen would you have for junior golfers? I mean, competitive junior golfers. If you could, kind of a couple of nuggets or something like that, things that they should be kind of doing, training, working on, especially right now with everybody in.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we're talking about with our juniors is to keep it relatively simple, so that they're engaged into the process, and fitness is not looked at as a chore. I don't like to see fitness as a chore. I don't even like the word fitness, to be honest with you, because fitness is very close to working out, and that means you have to work. And yeah. I'm a big fan of making it fun and energetic for the kids. So we're all about getting them to feedback information to us. I think Kaylee and my other trainer, Shauna Bryant, they do a really good job with these kids because they're fun, they're outgoing, they're females that are experts in this industry. And if the kids can't do it, they get right on their case and they make it into an instant game. Like, I can't believe you're letting me beat you at this. And the kids are like, well, I got to win now. So, a lot of the stuff Coach Bryant, Milo Bryant down here in San Diego has taught us a lot about it. The way you talk to a child or a youth is important. You never talk down at them. You're always talking at the same level as them. And sometimes that means you have to get down to their level so that they can understand what you're saying. They need to feel welcome into what we're doing. And the reality is, movement or fitness or performance is growing sparse with the kids. I mean, gym programs are getting cut short, athletic programs are getting cut short all over the world, and kids are more tech. They're on their phone texting versus moving. Exactly. Yeah. So it's very delicate, but I'm trying to get out there and help promote the awareness. Here's a clear-cut example. Coach Milo talks about this. One day he had a junior group coming in, and he had like 6 stations set up. One was a push station, one was a pull, one's a balance, one was a jumping, one was a climbing station. So he went station by station, explaining very crystal clear what 2 people in each station were going to do as partners. And then he got to the climbing station. It was a tree. He said, okay, there's going to be 2 people on this station. Your job is to climb to the top and get that handkerchief up there. All right, whoever gets it first wins. And so he goes, we're going to give you 3 minutes at each station. He said, ready, set, go. Everybody started doing their thing, and he looks over to the tree. Kids were just sitting at the base of the tree. He's like, what are you doing? Why aren't you guys climbing? They're like, Coach Milo, we don't know how to climb a tree. And it was a red flag to them saying, oh my God, these kids don't know how to climb a tree because they've never done it before. Whereas when we were growing up, that was all we did. I mean, your parents wouldn't see us until 8 p.m. when it was dark in the summer.
We knew how to hop over chain link fences and stuff like that. Yeah. Correct. I don't know where you were doing. I'm just saying. I heard, dude. I heard.
Yeah, me too. I was in the same boat. So was Hoffman. Man, I bet he was a convict when he was growing up.
He came out a convict.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Kaylee, I know you brought her name up a few times. One of my tour partner on the California Junior Golf Tour in LA, he's actually been working out with Kaylee a lot. He's been going down, Dan Martin.
Oh yeah.
And dude, I'll speak from, I get to work a little bit with Dan, and Chris Mason also works with Dan. And I've seen huge strides because there's certain things I couldn't get him to do before. And I see it now because he's talking about activation, and he's like, dude, I never realized I couldn't activate that, you know?
It's subtle things that we try to turn the light bulb on for athletes. So I listen to what you, Coach Mason, say that the student is going towards, and we're trying to unlock their physical abilities to do it better. And usually, to me, it's such an easy fix because I've seen 10,000 of them. To Kaylee, it's an easy fix. But remember, the student may have never felt this before, so it's an instantaneous, like, wow, this is different. This is really different. And that's good. That's good to know because I can't feel what the student's feeling. So when I hear feedback like that, I know we're doing the right thing. Well, and at the end of the day, it's all about the athlete feeling better. And he now has the ability to do what he wants to do, what you want to do in a safer manner too, so he can play golf for a lot longer.
Absolutely. How have you seen on tour, how long have you been really realistically working with like tour players and stuff like that? How long has it been? Or studying the movement?
Studying the movement since 1997.
Okay.
I was in college undergrad, and honestly, it was funny. I was an athletic trainer. I'm sports medicine, so we do these 2-year clinical rotations where we have to go to sports teams and serve time. We used to have to serve 2,000 hours before we were allowed to take our boards, our national boards. And so my first rotation in college, I was a sophomore in college, and the athletic director was like, okay, Lance and Rob, you are in charge of the baseball team. I'm like, wow, we're the athletic trainers for the baseball team. We had a pretty good baseball team. My roommate, he's now with the Cincinnati Reds. He was a major league pitching prospect, left-hander.
Wow.
So we go down to Martinsville, Virginia to play a team, and it's 58, 59 degrees. And my roommate's out there, and he's throwing 91, 92 left-handed. He's got a lot of prospect coming at him. There's college scouts there. And all of a sudden, his shoulder pops. And we run out to the mound. He's just holding it. And he's like, Lance, what do I do? What do I do? I'm like, Steve, what's wrong? He goes, something popped my shoulder. You got to fix it. And I'm like, Steve, look at me. And he goes, just fix it. And he's really stressed, in the mode athletic. I go, Steve, what's your major? He goes, I'm in sports medicine just like you. I was like, yeah. So we're in the same damn class, Steve. And he goes, what are you trying to tell me? I was like, we haven't covered the shoulder yet. We're still only in the hip. And he's like, oh, shit. And so the other trainer from the other team comes out, and he was an old guy. And he goes, kids, can I help you with something? I'm like, yeah, we got a problem here. And the umpire's walking out, and he goes, what's going on here? Is the guy hurt or not? I was like, yeah, he's hurt. He goes, well, what's the problem? And the other trainer goes, these guys haven't covered their shoulder in sports medicine class. I'm like, it's not our fault. So everybody's laughing, and my buddy goes, so you're not going to fix the shoulder? I was like, not yet. So why the hell am I talking about this? First of all, I don't even know how this related to your question.
I don't know. I seem to get my guests always to go down these tangents that we're like, how'd we get here, dude?
I don't know. But
that's a hell of a story.
I think the point is I'm trying to learn. I don't know what you're saying.
I didn't cover page 70 to 80 yet, dude. I don't know.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, tell me this. How much have you, so let's ask this. So, you've been studying the swing for years, whatever, in terms of the motion, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen it change a lot? Let me ask you that. Say over the last 15, 20 years, have you seen patterns change? How have you seen them change? In what ways? What are some, maybe a couple that come to your head?
Here's a pattern that I'm seeing change is the foot staying planted to the ground. I'm seeing a lot more left feet coming off the ground in backswings, a lot more foot action. I'm seeing a change from the absolute shunning away from everything below the knee in the game of golf. So, and I don't know why this happened, but I've always been a big proponent of footwear and shoe action and foot action in the golf swing. But I guess until the last couple of years, there really hasn't been a way to measure it effectively unless you were in a research lab with a force plate. But now we have so much technology to measure it that we're seeing a change in how golf pros are talking about the foot or talking about shoe wear, for instance. So that's a big change. I I just think there's an overall awareness of better posture. All right.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. You know, I started golfing in 1984, and posture wasn't really talked about that much. I know it was a little bit, but it wasn't really discussed. And there's a lot of haters out there on posture still, and it doesn't make sense to me, because at the end of the day, let's talk lower back posture. Neutral posture is ideal. I still have yet to hear an argument that says you should have your back arched or excessively rounded. Based on the biomechanics and the physics of your lumbar spine and how it interacts with your pelvis, right? That's anatomy. You get the most amount of rotation out of those segments, side bend, and safety if you're in neutral posture. Now, some people are, well, that means you have to have a straight spine. No, it doesn't. Just have to be your neutral is an ideal position to hit golf balls from, or play sports from, if you will. Now, I'm not talking about deadlifting or linemen who should be a little arched at points in time, but if you're playing a rotary sport, that's what I'm talking about. So I see a little shift in postures improving around the globe. And we'll see also the upper body posture is changing as well. And I know some coaches don't believe in that, and they teach the exact opposite of that. And it is what it is, but my number one rule is don't hurt your athletes. All right, so I have to really hear by that.
I think coaches also have to realize, and I'm sure they do, everyone's educated here, but if you're not, there's three segments really to the spine. There's the lumbar, the thoracic, and the cervical. And it's not a line, folks. No. Okay, it's not a line. So there's a little nugget there. But you know, how can you explain though? Let me ask you this, Lance, just from a golfing geek perspective. Do you think, I mean, for my eye, it seems like that a lot of players, great players, I'm talking through history of the game, they've all had different setups. Mm-hmm. Is that really a true fundamental, you think? Or what do you think about that? I mean, we've seen every possible setup. I think we could agree on that, right?
Yes. I think what you'll see is based on an athlete's torso length versus their leg length versus their arm length. You'll see a different way to set up to the golf ball. Now, there are some parameters that I think should be somewhat consistent through that, such as alignment. I mean, which is like your foot alignment versus your pelvis versus your shoulders.
Yeah.
Are they all pointing at the same position? Is there an excessive curvature in your back? Is there an excessive arch in your lower back? Is there enough hip flexion? So certain parameters, guidelines, if you will, I think are being met. But I think what you're getting at is our naked eye will see something totally different.
Yeah.
Now, the cool thing is with motion capture, I can put a Charlie Hoffman in a 3D suit, and I can put a Zach Johnson, two totally different golfers, two totally different swings. And they might come out with the same amount of hip flexion, but we'll swear up and down that on video camera from down the line, nope, there's no way they are.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I think just getting more detailed information kind of puts that to bed. But to your point, I think we should embrace different people's bodies, different setups, and understand that, okay, there are going to be some nuances. So don't be rigid and have to have everybody in the same box.
Yeah.
Go with the flow a little bit, learn what the athlete is, who they are, what they want to do, what the coach is trying to do. And I think you're going to get better results out of them.
Give them a range, right? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
It doesn't need to be this 1 degree here. There's some more questions here. Winwork. Ideas to market golfers to come to PT for golf injuries, persuading junior golfers to come exercise.
That's a lot. PT.
Yeah, ideas to market golfers to come to PT for golf injuries and persuade junior golfers to come exercise.
Well,
marketing thing.
Yeah, I guess your easiest way to do it, and I don't know, some people are afraid of this. I'm not, as you can tell. I just go to golf pros. I reach out to golf pros across the country, across the world, say, hey, I'd love to come and lecture to all your students on the merits of the human body. I'm going to make you look good because you're into this. You're proactive. You're reaching outside of your realm, if you will, or what you were educated in, and you're growing. And I'm going to explain why having certain movement patterns is going to benefit you in the long term. Now I can go and speak to 50, 60, 70 kids and their parents. And that's a key. Explain to the parents why you're doing this. Safety, longevity, more success for your students is everything. And when you do that, man, oh man, they start to see the light bulbs turn on. And remember, they're kids. They're 13, 14, 15 years old. They don't have a clue what they want to do. They'll always take the path of least resistance. That's how they're programmed. It's our job to help make them understand that the path of least resistance sometimes is putting in a little bit of work in a fun way. And always do your lectures hands-on, demonstrate, have a little fun, poke fun at people, make fun of yourself, and basically speak at the same level as them.
Every time. That was great. That was really, really good. Tony Greco had another question here. How often should you, oh no, we already did that. Sorry about that. Do you guys want to, what's your opinion on Bryson's swole routine? What's your opinion on Bryson's swole routine?
You know, he's not my favorite golfer, all right? And I don't know if that's a personality conflict, but I think I think the way he looks at the game is so analytical, it doesn't mesh with my brain.
Yeah.
But that being said, the guy is phenomenally talented, and he knows a lot of information about his golf swing, the world of golf, what works, physics. He is a student. He's a scientist.
Yeah.
His swole routine, I think, has been hyped up. I mean, here's the thing. If I got long drive guys that work with me that should honestly be defensive ends in the NFL.
Right.
Should be defensive ends. Justin James is huge. I mean, he's just a mass. He could be a linebacker. But the guy is more limber than a yoga expert is. He hasn't lost his ability to move. Whereas a lot of the times people, when they get bigger and bulkier, they don't move as well. I don't care how big and bulky you are, as long as you can move. Brooks is another fine example of being able to move. Tiger is a great example. His change from 97 to 2005, he gained a lot of muscle mass, put on the weight, but he still could move. Now, there was things that he was doing, I'm sure, that put his back at risk, but the guy still had his mobility so he could play and perform at the highest level. And that's what I'm always really striving for is matching your motions up with your movements that you're training for in the gym.
Yeah, I love that, dude. I love that. There was another question here. Talk about nutrition during a round, golf, calorie intake.
Right here, baby. I said it all with my headband. I'm sponsored by PBR, Pass Blue Ribbon.
All day.
No. I've learned from some of the most stringent, nutrition experts like Robert Yang. Robert's a big fan of caloric intake, more protein. He doesn't think we get enough protein. Sometimes he's giving people up to their body weight in grams per day, whereas, kids are like, yeah, I get 30 or 40 grams of protein a day. He's like, yeah, but you weigh 120 pounds. It should be at least 100 especially if you're out in the sun being active for 8 hours. So I think protein intake is a key factor. Hydration is always on the low end. And not just water, but hydration with electrolytes in it. So Robert's simple, philosophy on that is every hole you're taking 2 or 3 sips of water and you put a pinch of sea salt in it. Celtic sea salt. You don't even know it's salt in the water, but that's Celtic sea salt has electrolytes in it that help, continue all those metabolic processes that break down when you're dehydrated or you're lacking nutrition. The other thing that I think is kind of gets underplayed is sugar or carbohydrate uptake. A lot of people say, no carbs, because you spike, your roller coaster. But there's got to be some balance of carbs because that's what fuels the brain. And I'm not interested in the brain losing its ability to be fueled. I'm not saying eat M&Ms, but I think a healthy balance of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins are going to help supply both the muscles and in the brain at the same time. So, just a continual supply. You should never feel hungry. You should never feel thirsty on a golf course. And honestly, it's not as hard as you may think. Trail mix is a great one. Protein bars are another one. You got to get creative on what you like. Peanut butter sandwiches, some people like. I'm not really a stickler on it. Just have fun, but make sure you do it.
Dang it, dude! Why you gotta kill the M&Ms, bro?
I'm also. I should have said straight M&Ms. I'm a big trail mix guy. That's what I would eat on the course: nuts, berries, some M&Ms in the mix. I'm fine with that. Just nibble on them, graze on them throughout the whole round. Good to go. Make it happen.
I love it. Hey, Lance, dude, I can't thank you enough for your time. Can you please let people know where they can find you? Because you've got such great information that can help everybody. It's helped me as a coach.
Yeah.
And I know this has been from afar, even watching me coach and stuff like that. But can you let people know how they can get a hold of you? This is a wealth of information right here. He's got nuggets for days here, guys.
Yeah, I feel like a gold rush guy right now.
That's right.
No, it's easy to find me on social media. Instagram, I'm LGP_INC. That's Lance Gill Performance _Inc. On social media for Facebook, Lance Gill Performance. Very easy to find us. Just reach out to us on a message or whatever. Kaylee's on that as well. She's fabulous. Sean is fabulous at what they do. And our job is to help make you move better so that you can perform better with you and your coach's guidance. And if you are a coach and you're interested in, the lecture stuff, just get in touch with me. I'd love to come out and talk with your clients and make it happen. So I'm here for you coaches, you players. My job is the pit crew. I'll build your engine better.
That's true. And all this knowledge that he dropped here, you can find it on my JRL Golf Academy on YouTube. Lance's information's there. I'm at Angeles National Golf Club in Los Angeles if you guys need to come out for lessons. So Lance, with that, I thank you so much, brother. I'm grateful and appreciate you so much for doing this, pal.
Hey, thank you for letting me be on with the array of superstars that you've been putting on. I'm kind of like batting ninth. I love it. I've been watching your lives. You're doing a hell of a job. So keep it up. You're a great coach. I love what you're doing. Your enthusiasm is contagious, and that's what we need.
I appreciate it, brother.
All right.
We'll talk to you later, Lance.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, everybody, the JRL Golf Academy. Please make sure to link and comment down below. Make sure you subscribe and turn on that little bell for notifications. And we look forward to seeing you on the next JRL Golf Academy.